Well, welcome to the Change Agent Podcast. I am your host, Tim McBride. And this is fun for me because I'm actually relaunching the podcast. I've taken a year or two off. There's a lot of transitions in my life. We all had to deal with COVID. So I'm very excited now to be bringing this podcast back to the market. There's been a big shift. When I originally had the Change Agent Podcast, it was to be a platform to invite leaders, influencers, people that I identified in our local market as agents of change to come on and share their stories in hopes to inspire others. Well, now with kind of where I've grown in the real estate business, the transition I've recently made to an incredible brokerage called Real Broker, I'm now in a position to be in relationship with thousands of real estate agents that are kind of leaders and influencers in their own capacities that are changing the way our business is being run every single day. And they are inspirations to me. So what better way to relaunch this podcast than to rebrand it, Change Agent Podcast, but the Real Change Agents. So Real represents the brokerage that I'm currently with, Real Broker. I've only been there a month, but you know what I've learned these first few weeks has been incredible, and the inspiration I'm gathering daily from the network I have access to, the people I have access to, the systems I have access to, and the relationships not just here in Arizona but around the country and in Canada are absolutely phenomenal. And I wanted to create something that I could, make available to the other agents within our brokerage that are doing amazing things. And that's what this platform is going to be all about. So this is my first episode back. It feels good to be in front of the microphone, and it feels even better to be sitting across the table from someone that I admire personally, have a great relationship with, and is someone that actually helped mentor me and make the change, have the confidence to jump from the position I was at with my old broker to come over to Real early in the year, and that's David Pullon. He's sitting here. His story, his journey is incredible. I would love for him to introduce himself, share a little bit how he got to where he is in this industry, the successes he's had there, the wins and losses that have come with it, and the lessons that he has gathered and taken with him to make the jump to Real too, because I know it's pretty new for him, but he's super excited what the platform means for him personally. And then to tie into the meaning of the show, the Real Change Agents, leaders, influencers, and real agents of change, we're going to talk about the things that he wants to accomplish through this vehicle of real estate that we operate in every single day to benefit our communities, because that's really what this is going to be all about. So thanks for coming on board with me, Dave. Thanks for being my first guest back. And
hey, it's an honor to be the first one. Come on.
There we go.
That's big.
I'm excited for people to hear your journey, because I know it, I've heard it, and you've accomplished a lot of great things. You've experienced a lot of things. But you're with Real Broker. I know you've got a title you like to give yourself, so I'll let you share that. But please, everyone, this is Dave Pullon, and I'm excited to have him here. Please introduce yourself, my friend.
Well, no, I appreciate that. It's agents like yourself. When I came on board just really before you and I had been speaking, and I've been watching you for years do things. It's you give me a spring in my step. You give me that fire to kind of do things. And then when you and I got to know each other a whole lot better on a personal level, from what you're looking to do, what you're looking to accomplish, talking a lot more about the change agent, talking about our faiths, talking about all of that, that just gives that fire in your belly and that motivation, and then the discipline to kind of keep going, because now, we can go far. They always say, go far, go alone, go fast, or no, what is it? Go far, go together, go fast, go alone.
Yeah.
And,
right.
And I think our president and CEO have both changed that. And they say, well, now we can go far and we can go fast together. And that's, to me, what it's always been. I've been kind of big on, harmony and relator and things like that. You hear words like that come out of my mouth all the time, because I'm used to be a certified strengths coach with Gallup, and they use words like that. And I've always been a big proponent of that, of somebody who likes to be the conductor, who likes to lift others up. One of my favorite books is, from Bob Berg, The Go-Giver. A big reason why I'm here today is all of that. So to give you a little backstory, background on me, again, my name is David Pullon. I'm originally from Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I moved out to Arizona in 2002 via, many areas. I used to work for the Marriott, the Ritz-Carlton on the real estate side. So I went from South Carolina to Florida to Hawaii to Arizona to San Francisco to the Caribbean, and then circled all the way back here again. But real estate's always been part of my life. Growing up in a resort town like Hilton Head Island, my dad was a builder. My brother still is and carries on the business. So it's always been something that I've been a part of ever since I could remember. And I knew really from early on what my role was going to be in real estate, because I have an older brother, again, who's still a builder, and we're about the same height, but he outweighs me by about 100 pounds. And I always noticed when we were growing up and we'd go to our dad's job sites, that he'd get the hammer and nails and I'd get the broom. I was the talker. I was kind of the face guy. I was that, and my brother, got to do the real work that I wanted to. And of course, he was the older brother, and I was the younger one who always got beat up. So
you got to fall in line.
You got to fall in line and everything. So, getting into real estate out here in Arizona is, obviously this is just a state that's just been booming for a long time. We continue to boom. I don't think we see the booms and the busts, we certainly might have back in 2007 and 8. But it's just, it's exciting. It's always dynamic. I think when people ask, the questions, how's the real estate market? There's so many different answers that you can come up with. And I've always just loved to say it's dynamic. I mean, it is something that is changing all the time, but if you can't be excited about the change or the shifts or whatever they might be, then you've got to kind of take a second look and take a look in the mirror and see where you might want to be. So again, my journey in real estate has always been, I was a salesperson for several years. So, 1 year I found, after being in it for, it was actually about 5 or 6 years, I was never the number one salesperson, but I was always, a top 5 salesperson, top 10, top 5 salesperson. And I realized that I really loved looking kind of at the periphery a little bit and helping bring others along. It's just, to me, it was fun. I remember being described really young when I was still in my 20s in sales. They're like, David, you've never even really been trained on sales. You're just kind of raw. And to me, it's like, yeah, I'm just being who I am. And I've always kind of tried to do my best to lead with that authenticity in whatever I do. But in doing that, I've wanted, you want to do that together. You can't be kind of the single person to do that. And so I moved into a management role because I thought one pretty good salesperson could help make a lot of pretty good salespeople. And I think I've been doing that for a while. So that's really become my platform is, going back to when I was a certified strengths coach. They always say to build a business, you need really 3 people. And, one of them is the rainmaker, the other one is the expert, and the third is the conductor, because you can't really do anything. You always need kind of, each and all. I'm not going to be the expert and the rainmaker, but I can be the conductor, and that's kind of who I fit with. And I've really just loved kind of being in that role.
I love that you've been able to identify that from an early age, or from a professional standpoint. Like you captured that early on and understood and kind of leaned into it, and we're happy with it. I think in our industry where there's so many influences around us, we're constantly being attracted to what we think means success, right. And we need to do those things. And I think now more than ever, agents need to understand who they are in this industry, who they are in this role, how they want to be seen and recognized. And if they can have like a true understanding of that, and that comes from within, it doesn't come from an external world validating that for you. You got to have that fire within, that understanding within of who you want to be in this space. So I think, early on in your career, like you kind of knew where your strengths were, because you were, what I heard was that that's just how you operate. That's how you communicate. That's how you behave. And I like that you said I wasn't number one. I was top 5, maybe top 10, and that didn't seem to rattle you. No. When you get in this business, you see leaderboards, and a lot of the culture that I've seen or experienced, and this isn't probably true across industry, is, you're compared against who you're in competition with within. Right. And if you're not at the top of the leaderboard, then you're failing in a sense. And whether you know or not, that you might subconsciously just be falling back.
I think you absolutely are, because, bottom line, I can't sell like you and you can't sell like me.
Correct.
And the earlier I
start... And that's okay.
It's absolutely okay.
I think it's important that that's shared.
People have to understand that. The earlier you start being, less like a salesperson and more like a human being, the better.
Yeah.
And I learned it because when I first really got into sales, I looked at the top 2 guys, and I said, what are they doing? Now I was in my 20s. And I looked like I was probably 16 at the time. So if they wore a coat and tie to work, I wore a coat and tie to work.
Yeah.
If they, did things this way, that way, whatever it was, I would listen, and I would, we call it, you kind of listen in on their presentations or whatever, and you shadow them. I would do what they did. And then I realized, wait a second, I can't be this guy, Stan. Stan's amazing. And he's been doing it for years, and he's, 20, 30 years older than me. I didn't even own a home at the time. And here I am trying to kind of be this person. And it's kind of a funny story which made me change is when I realized who I was, I wasn't a great salesperson. I was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with that, because again, as I mentioned earlier, I was very raw. So let's just go with who I am. And I figured out, it's really all about trust. And so I went in with the mindset, really, when I would be, in my 20s, and I'm talking to clients that are homeowners, that are in their, 40s and 50s or whatever, and older, much older also, is I said, what's my goal here? Is my goal here to sell them something, or is my goal here to get them to trust me? And at that age, I honestly said, you'll get a laugh out of this, is because I said, my goal in this is to get them to show me a picture of their daughter or granddaughter, to try to set me up on a date with their daughter or granddaughter. Because if they did that, that's trust.
That's another level of trust.
That's another level of trust. And this is back in the day that they didn't pull out the phones to show pictures. They had the whole, plastic pictures in their wallet. And they'd say, oh my gosh, David, you have to meet our daughter. You have to look at our granddaughter. You have to look. That's trust. Then once they trust you, you can tell them about what you're doing, what your product is, whatever it might be. And maybe they buy it, maybe they don't, but no trust, no sale.
Correct.
And so
100%.
And the only way that you can get people to, I think, trust you is you have to be authentic and you have to be yourself. I've talked about, as I've been kind of going through my career then, as a leader and as a manager and as a growth advisor, whatever my title might be, it's always about the fit. Mm-hmm. It's not even fair to agents that, you have a license, hang your license here, because they need a body. And we always talk about that. If you can fog a mirror, there's all sorts of those cliches that you can go in. And that's not fair to anybody. It's a lose-lose. It's about the fit. What do you need? And do we have that for you? Can we provide that for you? And if we can't, we need to tell you that, because you need to go find that in some other location so you can be the best person that you are by being authentic.
Yeah.
And that's just always the way that I've done that. In several positions, I've turned down many people. Do I have that crystal ball that says that they're going to be successful? No, I don't. But I do know that if you walk into this building I was with a major brokerage, and they had great technology, and we've got the great marketing, we have all the greatest people, come on in. I used to say it's like standing at the doors to the nicest gym, in town, okay? You're standing there like, look at all this great equipment. Look at all the people that are in here. Look at all the bodies and all that stuff. Come on in. And then they walk in and they don't know how to use that equipment. And they disappear into anonymity and they become another number. And 2, 3, 4, 6 months, within a year, they're gone. Mm-hmm. We're licensed real estate agents. We're independent contractors. We can go whenever we want. And we all lose that way.
Yeah.
So it's really, what do you need? Do we have it for you? And that's why I kind of liked going and creating, I liked going to a boutique brokerage, but then also now being at Real, which is a lot bigger of a brokerage, to creating those groups or systems or alignments, not a team, but just what are your strengths? What are mine? What is this person's? What do you need? And let's kind of get all together so we can truly be the rising tide that raises all ships.
I love it. And so you've had a few different roles as you've been here in the Valley, right? Mm-hmm. You've been with a few different teams, few different brokerages.
Correct.
What was it that you've taken from each one of those roles that you want to implement here at Real? Because I know that you're still new and you've kind of just touched on a lot with the systems and structure, but there's got to be something there that made you really excited to take everything you've done and want to bring it to Real. Right. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I really think it does, overall it comes back to putting people in a position to succeed. Okay, what is it that you do well, and let's emphasize that. And let's manage around your areas of improvement. And it's proven that, I'll take myself for example. I can write a contract. I can go through all of those things. But what it takes me an hour to do, a transaction coordinator who is in it every single day, multiple times a day, can do it in 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I'm better at being out and meeting people and doing the networking and doing, sitting down and doing listing presentations and doing open houses and things like that. Those are some of the things that are more my strengths. I don't have much of an analytical type of mind. So I like it. I can do it. Could I get better at it? Yes. Would it be a waste of my time? No, but would it be better for me? Am I going to get a whole lot better if I just soar with my strengths? There's the book from Clifton with Gallup. Soar with your strengths, manage around your areas of improvement. So that's really when I step back and I kind of want to create, they say surround yourself with people that make you do better. Be the person that is, if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Okay. That never happens to me. I'm definitely, and I love that. And that's what's great about it, because it's always driving. You can throw out ideas and you're like, this person has this strength and I want to be around that person. Mm-hmm. This person has this strength and I want to be around that person, because that's not comfortable for me to do. And could I do it? Yes. Could I? But what I do in networking, in attracting people, in collaborating, in kind of bringing people together and connecting, I don't have all the answers for everything by far, but I know enough people that I know who does.
Yeah.
And that's what I like, being the conduit or the connector for people to do that. And that's an opportunity I think that we have at a brokerage like Real to really be very successful in that.
And I'm just going to speak candidly here. So I've been in the industry 6 years, almost. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell people, I've told my clients, this is an industry I never imagined myself being in, ever wanted to be in, if I'm being honest. My pursuit, my I guess North Star was always in sports and entertainment, right?
Right.
My roles in the agency world, the Red Bull corporate world, branding and marketing, and then starting a company that brought me here to Arizona. I would have never imagined I'd be where I am today doing what I'm doing, especially in this city. But it's also, I'm in a position where I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm more confident in who I am and what I'm doing. And it's in an industry in a city I never could have imagined myself being in. And I'm saying all this because when I finally said yes to getting in to this industry and setting aside the title of realtor, that's not who I am. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing. All these kind of negative conversations I was having with myself, and just embrace the opportunity to be in a relationship with people. I took the idea of know who you are and know who you aren't in this industry, and took it to heart early on, because there are a lot of shiny objects, right? There's going to be a lot of influences that pull you a lot of different directions, and it can be the right or wrong one really fast. And if you're not confident who you are and what you want to stand for quickly, you could sink. Mm-hmm. And I'm coming from a world where all my network was in Southern California. I was in LA for 10 years, San Diego for 3, and I come back here and, I'm transitioning to a whole new industry. I don't have a network I can lean back on. So I really leaned into that idea. And from the moment I saw, we met, I think it's pretty clear that you've known who you are and who you want to be in this industry, and never compromised any of all of that. And that is just a testament to you, I think, and just the confidence you have and who you want to be. And I think that shows, and it's inspired me. And when you sat across the table from me a month ago and goes, here's why I went to Real, that was something worth listening to. And I think the way you just articulated the system that we get to plug into, the knowledge that's available, the platform, the resources, the connectivity to other leaders and influencers is phenomenal. And for me, only been in 6 years, I think that's something pretty special. And I think there's a huge shift in our industry that's going to go away from the brick and mortar and kind of lead into this cloud-based, really community-driven brokerage, if done right, that's going to thrive and put agents in a position to be much more successful in their own business and potentially in their future because of what is being built. And I think why you went there was a big influence on why I went there. So I just want to thank you for putting that out there.
Oh, are you kidding? It's been a pleasure, and that's, again, that was authentic. It's funny, as we've talked about getting together to do this podcast for a while, and just on Sunday I was sitting in church, and one of the the pastor brought up an excerpt, and I can't remember which book it was from and everything, and I'm going to totally butcher it or everything, but it was about seeking the truth, and it was basically drop the facade and seek the truth, it obviously went on and the truth, the light, the way, everything like that, but that's always what it is, and and I know I've watched a lot of podcasts. The company that I was previously with, there's a guy who, his podcast, he finally just said, he goes, I'm just who I am, and when I did that, my business went booming, and now he has a lot of expletives and things like that in his podcast and everything, but he's funny, he's authentic and everything, and what he did is he dropped the facade and he just sought the truth. And
I like that.
When you tie that in, it's sometimes we don't see how all this is tied together. And it doesn't have to be, a religious kind of epiphany or anything like that to people, but to me, it has been, it is in a lot of cases. And I know we're going to talk about a little bit about, what our driving forces and stuff are going forward. But it was just funny that happened this weekend too. That's always been something that I've sought after, something, things that I've gone after. And then when I just saw that, I was like, drop the facade and seek the truth. And like, that's what it is. It's just all about being yourself and finding that fit for you that is going to make you, that's what, when you put your feet on the floor and you go running and, Monday becomes your favorite day.
Yeah. And I think that ties that idea of where we're at right now is what makes you memorable in this industry. It's not your brokerage anymore. Yeah, Real to me is a beautiful platform to be a part of. It's a network I have access to. I can grow knowledge-wise, but at the end of the day, I have to still do my job and serve my client in that their need of a transaction or sale, right? And I can't do that if I'm not going to have those relationships if I'm not being just genuinely me in how I approach the marketplace. And they can teach me all the things that I should do, but if I don't, believe it in myself to go out and do it, I'm never going to do it. And I love this platform now because I get to be in conversations with people like you every day that can make me better at how I do my job and make me believe a little bit more in myself and the capacities that I may have to make myself more memorable to my marketplace. And if you do that with a way that is from a standpoint of truth, as you said, your business is going to grow and your enjoyment in life is going to flourish, and you'll have more balance, I think, too, because you'll put life into perspective. What my priorities really are. And finding that is huge.
It is finding that is huge. And you talked about brands and stuff like that. There's a lot of obviously great brands, recognizable brands that are out there. When I think of those, it makes me think of the book. What got you here isn't going to get you there.
No, that's a good one.
So a brand can get you to a certain level depending on where you are, but it's not going to get you there. It's not going to get you to that point. I think that you might not have even thought of yet, which is truly. Is the truth, or is the fire within you that you feel fully satisfied? You feel fully that your definition of success has now been defined and achieved, and you're not going to get that. In my opinion, you're not going to get that by being in something that's where you're having to go by the guidelines or whatever it might be of something else, of somewhere else. We're all different. I can't be like you. You can't be like me. I can't be like this brand. The brand isn't me. And as soon as I can kind of recognize that, and it takes a lot of, faith, and it takes a lot of drive, and it takes a lot of motivation to do that, and it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes everything. I mean, consistency, we've got all these words that we can throw out there.
Yeah.
But eventually you're going to be a whole lot happier when you can do that. And that's why I sought this, because it allows you to be who you are. You can brand yourself who you are. You can, obviously, we're all licensed real estate agents, so we all have to be compliant, and we have to provide fiduciary, and we have to do all of those things. That's going to keep us in line. But other than that, we need to be ourselves.
Yeah.
First and foremost, and that's going to make us 100% happier with what our definition of success is in both business and personal life.
Absolutely. So my definition of success is now tied so much to legacy, what I want to be remembered for in this business. And when I think about that, I reflect on my faith and I reflect on my family. How am I using the platform that I've been given and the resources and the skill sets to be a bit greater service? And that's how Change Agent all came together. I got in this business, coming from the marketing world. I took some of the unapologetic, very progressive confidence that comes with the branding of Red Bull and bring that in. And the sports world, I want to bring all these things that I wanted, were from my past, and bring it into who I wanted to be in this space, because I saw early on I could get my license and put #1 realtor on my business card.
Yeah.
And it means nothing. Right? That's not going to attract business. It might make me feel good inside for a second, but when I put that card in the hand of someone that doesn't know me, it's going to go in the trash. So the idea was like, how can I quickly build a brand or build my name in this marketplace that is representative of who I want to be? And it started off with Homes for Good, as you know.
Yep.
But as I built Homes for Good and started tying my platform into local nonprofits and the stories that they have and the needs that they have, and bringing it into my everyday business, the Change Agent brand just kind of took over. And at first it was this, just commitment to myself to elevate my standard of service, to not only meet the needs of my clients at the same time, but also my community.
Yeah.
And it, a lot of it came from my past roles, past experiences, and learning from the wins and the losses. And in it, it's just become so fulfilling to know that I have a why. And now that I'm in a position with Rio, I can truly start thinking of legacy for my kids. And I want to build something that shows our industry is something that's so much more transformational than transactional. To be in conversation with agents everywhere that have a little bit of a higher sense of purpose. If your purpose is making as many deals, that's not a bad thing. But to me, that doesn't move the needle. Right? I want to find a way to show that the relationship capital of this industry is so incredible that not only can we serve the needs of our clients, but our for-profits and nonprofits. And I'm saying this because when we first met, you brought up a line where, because you're from South Carolina, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there was a question. There was a question you heard growing up all the time, or there's a comment, I should say, right? Growing up all the time, it was ask a local. Right. And you made this comment. I remember it clearly. Like, I want to find a way to use our business to help our local for-profit businesses. Right. And I think there's some power there because we're obviously the world we're operating right now. There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of hurt. Doors are shutting. So when I talk about legacy, I think more on the philanthropic side, but I feel like you also have this idea of how can we build up our city from a for-profit side. Use our platform to help our local community from a business standpoint. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. If
Absolutely.
You can.
Yeah, it was funny. Again, I grew up in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, resort town. So everybody, who needed directions or needed recommendations on anything, it was ask a local. Yeah. And, fast forward now, however many, umpteen years later, there's a lot of things out there, with the economy and all that, I read something the other day that, businesses are coming in here and they've been in here for a little while and obviously COVID affected a lot of that, but they've all wanted to stick it out, through, spring training and the Phoenix Open and the Super Bowl. I mean, what an amazing year 2023 is going to be, especially the spring here in the Phoenix Scottsdale area. But then it said 30% of those businesses are going to be out of business by June.
Wow. 30%.
30%. And that kind of really hit me because it's almost like, back to what you were saying, look at the platform that we have and what we can do. And it's why I love, when you originally started talking about change agent, change, is that while your time here on earth, what do you want to do? And, you could change is a word that's widely used in politics and all these types of things, but you want to change something, and it's not, doesn't necessarily have to be, that's why you've taken yours. It's not a real estate thing, although I love what we do because we change lives, and our business works when there's a change in their life. There's a life situation that happens. I've, looked at a lot of things like, wow, why aren't we, in real estate really taking on the homeless population? There's some empty buildings out there right now, that are just sitting empty in the commercial space that, could we make some type of hotel and have them earn their rent somehow by keeping it clean and keeping themselves clean and all? I don't know. I'm just like, you throw out ideas like that and do, but the change that you can have with local business. So we've talked to a lot of agents, that I run into, and I say, look, what I learned this one saying that I love from all the trainings and stuff we go to, and I know you do a lot of the Tom Ferry, and I've done a lot of the Gallup and the Ninja and stuff like that. And one thing I remember that really stuck with me was, you don't have to do everything; you just have to do something.
Yeah.
And so if you can really kind of focus on that, and when I think of that, it's like, gosh, this could be overwhelming. I mean, 30% and all this like that. But if I said, hey Tim, I want you to go out and I want you to pick 3 businesses. Okay, now they could be, something that has to do with your business. You hold open houses, so you need food. Okay, so go to a local restaurant and talk to that local restaurant maybe about catering your open house. And then maybe there's a boutique or something like that has sport coats or menswear or whatever. And maybe they can put some of their clothes in the vacant closet or some of the, some clothes around the area or whatever. Anything that can promote that business. And you don't have to do all of them. Pick 3. But it's your responsibility to keep those 3 businesses alive past June when everybody says that they're going to fail. And what would you do if it were just 3? It doesn't have to be the 30% of all the businesses here, just those 3. And when people go there, you can, they mention, Tim McBride, they mention Change Agent or whatever, and they get a free appetizer or they get 10% off their bill or something like that. Those businesses would absolutely love that. They'd love to do that. They bring a food truck to your open house. They bring events that you can have and things like that. I'm just tipping the iceberg of ideas I know that people could have that could, with this platform, really be a change agent And now that does go into our communities, be a change agent and, impact, some of these communities that clean up, that build homes, that, do things like, there's so much that we could do. And, but don't do it all. Just, you don't have to do everything. You just have to do something.
Do something. Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you just shared that, because right now you're being a change agent, right? And this is what this platform is all about. It was never about Tim McBride and just doing open houses and serving needs of local nonprofits. It's bringing other agents into the conversation, finding out what their why might be or some of their interests might be, and empowering them to go do it. And let's create this tidal wave of content that isn't new escrow, new closing, recent sale, just kind of these static images that I see across our industry, which have purpose. Again, I don't post a lot of that stuff. It's just not on brand for me. My brand is, to turn a transactional industry into something transformational. It's to be a change agent. And it's Homes for Good. And it's been building for 5-6 years. And now that I'm at Real, I want to scale, and I want to put my pedal down, put to the pedal and go all in and have more of these dialogues that talk about how we can do more, because our job is to talk to people every day.
Right.
And take our perspective off of the person in front of us that might need us to buy or sell, but create a platform or a conversation with someone in our community that can come in to those relationships that we have with our clients in a natural fit. And these conversations, like you said, you just tipping the iceberg of where your mind goes, where your thoughts go. And I think if more agents are starting to talk like that and then can kind of be aligned and come together and kind of collaborate, mastermind together, whatever it is, that's what I want to build in our industry. And then we can just create this tidal wave of content that is showing our marketplace that our cities are being built to be stronger, being served better because of real estate.
Absolutely.
Right? Let's take the narrative off of $1 Million Listing, where the storyline is commission and agent makes, the lifestyle they live, and the value of the home. It's entertaining, it's fun, but there's so much more power if the conversation was, these 3 homes sold, built a classroom for kids that need access to education, built a basketball court for a boys and girls club, fed families, did something. There was that immediate impact locally, grassroots, that made the city stronger. I think from a marketing, branding standpoint, consumers want to know what you stand for.
Right.
And
you're 100% on that, because again, it all kind of comes back around to it. So I'm such like a strengths guy, because do it with something that you're passionate about.
100%.
Don't let somebody else pick out, hey, I'm going to do this for the homeless, I'm going to do this for Africa, I'm going to do this for whatever, if that's not what you're passionate about. For me, for example, and so my wife is an amazing woman. She is the area director for Young Life Capernaum. AZ20 is their name, and they are a company that, or they are a ministry that assists children from the age 13 to 22 with developmental and intellectual disabilities. And once you experience that, these children 13 to 22, for example, they don't get invited to play dates. They don't get invited to sleepovers. They don't get invited to, a lot of different things. Every Thursday night, my wife puts together with the company, they have club. And so they have fun events and they do all these great things. Now they're a 501c3, so you can give, tax money, tax free, a tax credit, and it's not the same as what the schools are, and it's not, anything else. It's totally different. Individuals $400 and couples up to $800 of your state tax money, and get a tax credit for doing that. And what does that do? That sends these kids to camp. That gets them things that they need to enjoy life a lot more. These kids with developmental and intellectual disabilities. Right now she's up in Williams, Arizona, with several of them up at a camp up there that are doing things like that. So I'm saying this because that's one of the passions of mine. When you can be in a situation, and honestly, I used to be the guy in the back of the church that would hear people singing off key, that would see people acting up, and they're, might have been a little bit younger. And this is well before, I met my wife, and well before anything. And I'm like, what's going on up there? And now, I realize it's some of these kids, whether with autism or Downs or whatever they might be. Now, step into it with them. And when I love standing up front while the music's playing, and you can feel the power of the music coming through them because they can feel that. And whether that's the Holy Spirit, whether it's the power, whatever anybody wants that to believe in themselves and what they believe that is, it's an amazing power. So that, to me, has kind of said, look, I want to make a lot of money because I want to do something with that money.
Yeah.
And that's where you can be that change agent. That's where you can make that change in your community. For me, again, it's with children with disabilities. For somebody else, it might be to help out, their friend in their business. It might be several different things, that they could, help in their communities. There's so much that we can do right here in our own backyard. What is the thing? You don't have to do everything. You just have to do something, that stands out to you that you could really be passionate about and doesn't kind of feel like another job, but it's something that is, not only motivating, but you can stay disciplined and consistent to make sure it's something that's successful.
Wow. Like if you could be sitting here listening to this and seeing just the passion behind that and how authentic that was, there's so much in that storytelling that you just shared and the results of what a little bit can do, that by just taking that out into the marketplace, you're planting seeds in people's hearts, in my opinion, that hopefully you might touch them in a way that might move them to get involved, right? Might move them in their own capacity to find what they care about. And that's some of the power we have available to us in this responsibility of being a realtor, to be in relationship and be in conversation with people, and to not always just talk about what we do, or the successes that we've had. And I think there's so much there, and that's what excites me. That's what excites me to be now in partnership with you in this business, to have the resources we have, because I think there's a platform where we can put more and more of that type of content out, and more agents, I believe, if agents and just people in our marketplace will find some sort of inspiration in, and hopefully in their own worlds, reach out. You don't have to give money, right? I think that's another part of it. Like I struggle. We've raised significant amount of money. We've helped 19 nonprofits. We've done amazing work, but it's not about the dollars raised. It's about the stories and the impact because of those dollars. Every group we partner with, it's where is there a need? What is that going to cost? And let's bring that back so that people see that a little bit can go a long way. They're not overwhelmed by, if I don't give $10,000 at a private event, then I can't make an impact. Well, if $65 puts a brand new pair of shoes on a kid living in foster care that has no shoes, you might do that a lot more often. Or if $35, outfits a child battling cancer here at the Phoenix Children's Hospital, you might do that more often. Yeah. And that's the power of like what I've been trying to build and what I see you doing. And it's an honor just to have a friendship with you, and now to be able to walk alongside you in our profession as real estate professionals, and to have the resource we have available to put more of that stuff out. Yeah. Because I think in our marketplace, people now more than ever are searching for a bigger why. And I think if we can start planting a few of these seeds in their hearts, it's amazing what I think can come in within their business and in their personal life. It's the time, and I'm about to realize it again. So real quick, this Friday up at Highlands Church, they have the Tim Tebow Foundation doing the Tim Tebow prom. Wow. That they have. And there are going to be 300 plus kids there. And a lot of them have, all sorts of developmental and intellectual disabilities. But people, I'm going to be a buddy. Okay, I'm going to be at somebody's date. I'm going to be somebody's helper. I'm going to be somebody's, go-to for water or anything like that. And unless you've really experienced something like that, of what you do to make somebody smile for a second, because all of them there are going to be crowned king or queen of the prom. I love it. And it's an amazing event, and that's just one of them. I know that people will be able to, again, I hope this does stir thought of something that, what is it like, something like that you can do. There's no money involved in that. It's spending a little time, in my case, spending the time with a special needs child to say, hey, I see you. Yeah. I see you. Let's have a little fun here, and let's dance. And if you're in a wheelchair, let's stand around there, and let's hold on to it, and let's just smile, and let's listen to the music. Yeah. And whatever it might be is making, I can't remember who said this, but, teachers, mentors, coaches, parents, whatever, you never know how far your level of influence reaches. Yeah. Because you might do something, you've influenced me. Have I turned around and told you, Tim McBride, that, hey, one thing you said to me, I said to somebody else.
I don't know if they said it to somebody else who sent it to somebody else who sent it to somebody else. You never know how far your level of influence reaches. So go out there and influence. We have all these social media platforms. We have all these things that we're, becoming influencers on. Go out there and do something, because you're doing a lot and you might not even know it.
I love it. And, I got a book for you. It's Tim Tebow's Mission Possible. It's a daily devotional.
Yeah.
So I have it. It's great. I've always admired him. I love that you shared it, because I come from the sports world. I grew up loving what sport represented beyond just a platform for entertainment. And as I grew in my professional career, I saw more and more as sport being something that connects us, unifies, inspires, leads, mentors. It does all of the above. Everyone on some level has a relationship with sport, and real estate's the same.
Right.
The access. And Tebow realizes that, and being a man of faith, I have a lot of respect for how just unapologetic he is. He is out there living for Jesus every single day, and it's his mission, and he uses his platform to reach millions and millions of people, and that's in his calling. And his foundation is incredible.
It is.
And sport is just a part of who he is, and he used the platform. And I think, I'm not Tim Tebow. We're not going to be Tim Tebow, but we have a similar type of platform available to us to have access to almost anyone. And I think that's what's so powerful about real estate. When I saw that connection between sport and real estate as almost being the same, and took my eyes off of just the title of realtor and saw that this is a vehicle to be of greater service, that's the kind of joy we can bring the world. The joy that you just talked about with that event happening at Highland Church this weekend. There's so much there. So before we wrap up, I want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you, get in touch with Dave, get in touch with Real, and get in touch with what your wife's doing in her ministry with Young Life, and get in touch with maybe some of these companies that you're looking to help support over these next couple months here in Arizona.
Yeah, well, again, my name is David Pullon. You can reach me. My email is david@realverticalre.com. Pretty simple to remember. I always think, what did I see? I started doing that because a minus is just a plus sign waiting for some vertical inspiration. And so that's a real everything has to go vertical. Again, passionate about, so it's Phoenix Young Life Capernaum.
Perfect.
And AZ20 is their code. They love, you mentioned, $2, $5. They love, people can sign up for monthly things that get these children with developmental and intellectual disabilities, out of their house and to church and to camps and to, Thursday night clubs and stuff like that, just playing games and having fun and doing things like that. So it's an incredible program, Phoenix Young Life Capernaum, AZ20, that's here in Phoenix. And you can go on Thursday nights and experience it. And I tell you, once you do, it'd be something amazing. And whatever it is for you, find what you're passionate about, find what kind of moves you, find what kind of really speaks to your heart. And we all have that ability to be that change agent and make that change. And it's, that's how when they say, what do you want to do with your life? I want to change the world. Well, you don't have to do everything. You just have to do something.
I got nothing else to say. That was the perfect closing. Thank you, Dave, so much for being on here. Such a pleasure. You just kicked this podcast off, so people, please take a moment. If you can listen, wonderful. If you can follow, awesome. But pay attention to what Dave's doing. Pay attention to these organizations he spoke about. And as he said, whether you're listening locally or somewhere else in the country or Canada, because I will be pushing this up to Canada, being from Canada originally. But
there you go.
Support those local businesses. If you see a position or a local business that you enjoy, that you regular, and you can integrate it into your everyday business responsibilities on some level, find a way to do that. I think there's an opportunity right now where they need support too.
They do. So and it'll come back tenfold.
Be that change agent the way you want to be that change agent to your marketplace, to the needs that you see needing to be filled, and we'll make our communities that much stronger. And the storytelling we'll be able to put out there to the marketplace that real estate is truly changing lives is going to be phenomenal. So thank you, Dave.
My pleasure.